All right, boys and girls, here with Rick to talk about the Fantasy Football League. Rick, how are you, my friend?
Doing all right. How about you?
Great, even though we just talked about that 2 seconds ago. It's always fun to pretend like it didn't happen.
I don't know
um,
what you're talking about.
yeah, me neither. Yeah, we haven't been here at all this whole time. Uh, so yeah, I sent you a message, super top secret interview, and you had a weird response to it. Um, what did you? I forget exactly what you said, but you were just like, "Why is it top secret?" And I was just like, "I don't know. I just thought that was fun." And you're like, "If you're trying to interview everybody, it's fine." And I was just like, "What are you talking about? The lack of trust between us."
No, no,
I
no.
don't know
I
what
was
I did to you
saying,
in trade negotiations to make you think this way.
I was saying, if you're going to interview everyone, it's not top secret then, right?
Yes. Okay. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. I thought you were like, "Oh, you're trying to record everybody like today," and I'm like, I don't think that I have the time for that, unfortunately. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But yeah, it was just funny that you were immediately like, "Why is it a secret? You're lying to me." And I was just like, "Dude, stop, please." It made me think of again what I did to you in a trade negotiation. That actually happened to me. I swear I hate talking about other leagues, but that happened to me in another league. I was sitting with my buddy who's in the startup with me, and I was like, and he was picking at like 410, and I was trying to trade to 409, and the guy sent me an offer I would accept. But I was like, let me just counter this and see if I can do a little bit of wiggling. And I was like, just so you know, this guy's off the board. You're up next, but he's gone. Nico Collins is off the board. And then I sent a counter offer, and the guy just declined it and picked anyway. And I was like, oh fuck! Like I would totally would have. And then my buddy, after I sold him on Nico Collins, picked Nico Collins, and I was like, you're a dick. But that was my fault for speaking too soon and nickel and diming somebody. So it'd be like that sometimes. Anyway, let's talk about our league and the direction that your team's going, the direction that you're headed, and kind of where your head is at with your team. Let's pull your stuff up and look at it. How are you feeling about your team this year? It's an interesting year for you, obviously. Hardcore tanking last year, and you haven't done the hard 180 a la me last year, not Cam, Chase this year. You're kind of doing the rebuild, I guess the quote unquote way that you should, I guess is the way to say it. Um, Team fairly young, some older guys, some high expensive cost contracts, some lower cost, some loaded towards the back like Mike Evans. I guess it's you hoping he'll retire to an extent. Um, some front loaded ones, with Lockett and Henry and Pitts, hoping they do something because you had the money for it. Let's just talk through your roster construction, where your head was at as you were building your team for this year.
Yes. So the roster I took over, I did not think was very good. Um, no picks, too much money. Not like it wasn't a win now team. It just wasn't good. Um, so last year, yeah, I went for the tank. Managed to not end up dead last and got that first pick. So I'm hoping I am situated pretty well right now at QB.
Yeah.
Assuming A Rich and Caleb do as well as I expect them both to. Um, I should have two, hopefully, cheap top half at least QBs
Right.
um, for the next 3 years, I think, at least.
Yeah.
Um, then it's backfilling, I guess. 'Cause, I mean, if, it kind of starts, I feel like, especially in our league where there are so many like, in my opinion, very overpriced QB contracts. I feel like having two legit starters at QB on cheap rookie contracts is hopefully really beneficial for my overall roster construction. Um, this year, I do not anticipate, doing that much better than last year. I suspect I'm still, probably a bottom half team. Very possible still in the toilet bowl, but assuming I get in the toilet bowl again, I would hope it'll be a good enough roster to get another first overall pick. Um, but we'll see. There's a whole season ahead of us.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost kind of to touch on two of the main things that I'm taking away from that. It almost mirrors like an actual NFL contract for a rookie, right? When you have a rookie quarterback like a Brock Purdy, you can pay everybody around him and hope he does well. And then once you pay the quarterback, a la Mahomes or Allen, everything else kind of goes away because that guy should be able to win you the games because they're that good. And it almost seems like you're mirroring that with the Anthony Richardson contract, with the Caleb Williams contract. So, and then you're able to pay guys like Mike Evans and Tyler Lockett and Derrick Henry and Kyle Pitts and Taysom Hill, which maybe we'll come back and touch on that. The other thing that you said too is that you kind of said bottom half. You know, are you aiming for extra pick? Because I think it's a fun conversation, right? So there's the extra pick bracket, so 5th and 6th place fight for 1.13, and there's a toilet bowl bracket where you're fighting for 101. You know, 1.05 and 1.13 is really good. 1.01 is really good. Like, is there one side that you prefer with where your team's headed now? Do you think there's one that inherently is better? Part one, and then part two, which would you prefer for the way that your team is built this year per se?
I mean, I would say I think 1-1 is inherently better. You know, generally speaking, if you have the first overall pick in Dynasty, you're probably hitting on that pick, right? Like it's pretty rare, I think, that, especially in Superflex, that you are drafting a player that ends up just shitting the bed. Even if they don't necessarily end up as like a top tier player, at the very least, it shouldn't be like a complete like bust, you know?
Right.
The bust rate at 1.5, at 1.13, or 2.1 in a typical 12 team, much higher, you know?
Right.
Certainly, though, if you hit on both of those, that is should be equal
win.
to or better than 1-1. But the odds are a little more against you. Yeah, I would, in general, I would say I would prefer 1-1. But I'm not like, I have no idea what's going to happen this year with my team, with the other teams in the league. You know, there are some top heavy teams that don't have much depth that could end up, you know, being worse than my team overall.
Right.
Who knows? So, you know, I feel like I'm probably headed towards the toilet bowl, but could end up in the extra pick, you know. We'll see.
Let's rewind a tiny bit then to the Taysom Hill kind of snip. I mean, Taysom Hill for 30. I think that Kmigs signed Dallas Goedert for cheap, but I'm a homer, so maybe Dallas Goedert for 8.
Yeah, I don't. I have no interest in Goddard.
But Taysom Hill but you would take Taysom Hill for. I mean, you've also got $1 million in the bank. Taysom Hill for 30 over Goddard for 8 on a normal budget. Would you still go Taysom Hill at that cost, or is it
No,
just
I mean,
because
I
you were
definitely.
Mr. Moneybags in this auction?
It's that. I figured out how much money I have available to spend. To the point where like I'll still have flexibility. I'll still probably have a lot of like wiggle room in terms of rollover or trades or whatever. I definitely would not normally have spent that much on Taysom Hill, and in fact, I was hoping I was going to get outbid, but it didn't happen, so that's fine. And I also wouldn't have done if I can't remember if I did Hill first and then Pitts or Pitts and then Hill, but I was like, don't love that I got both of these guys for these prices, but that's all right.
I will do my absolute best to look as casual as possible as I tear through the draft board and see if I can figure that out, just for fun. Chat. Let me see. So while I'm doing this as super casually as I'm looking in the complete opposite direction of what's that? Oh, I can't even. Not even gonna work because this supplemental. That's the weird supplemental draft we did. I don't know. It's gonna take longer than I wanted it to. When you look at the rest of the league, is there any team in particular that you feel like has a bit of an overrated roster currently? Or I know it's difficult to kind of talk about that or answer that question in the preseason, right? But, thinking about how last year ended versus how free agency and the draft went coming into this next year, is there a team that you think that's the team to beat that really isn't the team to beat?
I have no idea. I mean, I feel like maybe you should have like done some polls and surveys or whatever beforehand, because I don't know what people are thinking about the teams in the league. So I can't really say, oh, this team is overrated, because I don't know how anyone is rated.
Rating anybody? Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I definitely want to do that like right before the season begins, just for funsies, because we did that last year, and I think it was fun results to talk about. You took Pitts with the 14th overall nomination in the draft for 46. Taysom Hill went 23rd for 30, followed by Dalton Schultz for 13, Jelani Woods Bar for 5, Wiley for 3, Zach Ertz for 2, Conklin for Cole Kmet went first at 13. Goddard went before Pitts as well at 8. So yeah, the first real big spike in the market there was Kyle Pitts at 14. So shout out sleeper, dare I say. The way the results look now in past drafts on the phone is incredible. The website's still dog shit. The phone, really nice to look at and discuss. Well, I know you just gave me a really good non-answer per se for the team that you think is maybe overrated, but what about underrated? Is there anybody that you felt like towards the end of last year had some good picks coming into the draft this year that you feel like might be underrated? Even if you're not saying, hey, they're going to make a good playoff run, is there anybody who was looked upon in one sense that you think should be looked upon differently heading into this coming season?
Sorry, I'm just looking at the rosters real quick.
Oh, you're good.
I feel like Flynn actually has like a decent amount of depth. He also has some guys I'm somewhat high on. I don't think he's like gonna win everything, but I don't know if he'll end up finishing, dead last again this year.
Right.
I feel like
Also
I'm probably
doesn't help that
talking
division.
the person is the one that's going to finish dead last right now.
Yeah, I think so too. Just get your punishments ready. That being said, we thought that in the first year as well, and I managed to sneak a win out against Morgan, so I survived having to watch 80 for Brady. Thank goodness. But yeah, I mean, I think so too for Flynn. It's just the tricky thing for him is he's going up against Kmigs, Unicorn, and Cam twice a season for one more year, and then next year he's released from purgatory, and there's a potential that those three end up the top three statistically, and they've got to all be split up, which I'm sure the three of them would love too. Very much an iron sharpens iron approach to that division. That really kind of does it, though. Just wanted to have a quick chat with you. Is there anything else you want to talk about, go over, discuss? Any final thoughts or anything like that?
Just looking forward to the season. Like, it can't get here soon enough.
Yeah, 3 weeks away now, right? A little less than 3 weeks away now at this point. Yeah, I'm itching for it. And then it's also nice the Thursday night game, then the Friday night game, and then the Sunday night game. Or Sunday games, and then is it 1 or 2 games on Monday this year? It's back to 1 again, right?
Honestly, I don't know.
I
hope so.
Yeah, a few years ago it was nice when there were 2, but it also sucked when there were 2 because then like the other one started like 10 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, I always hated that.
Yeah, and that's how I think I know I'm getting older is because I'm like, they're starting it so late. Whereas like before, like it never got to me. Whereas that's a thing now. I'm looking at that's because it's a preseason. I was like, no shit, there's games on Saturday, but that's because I'm looking at preseason stuff. How have the Giants looked in the preseason? Have you watched Hard Knocks yet? Let's touch on that really quickly.
The off-season one with the Giants.
Yeah, the Giants off-season.
Yeah,
just
I
one
it.
Monday night game, Jets Niners. What did you think from your perspective? Because I think you hadn't watched initially, right? Is that like a thing you do with shows? Because you do that with House of the Dragon too. Usually wait until it's like mostly there. Or...
No, that one I watched just because like I already know what happens, right? So like
Oh yeah,
there's no need to like binge it really.
yeah,
No, that one I watched as it aired. I mean, like the next day or the day after, but
yeah.
um, yeah, I don't know. Didn't really learn like too much new stuff from that. A little more insight into like the Saquon stuff,
Yeah.
but a little more insight, I guess, into like how close they were to actually making a trade for a QB, like a rookie QB.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that was impressive. I didn't realize it was like that either. It didn't seem like it was like that. You know, I wonder if
mhm.
Daniel Jones sees that and is like, "Hey, man, what the fuck?" You know, um, because didn't wasn't Dable sitting there? So like, if I could have anything, I'd take Daniels right now or whatever it was.
No, they said, is there anyone worth trading up for?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Thank you for the phrasing.
Mm.
Yeah, anyone worth trading at 40, said Daniels. I also thought it was interesting after they had Odunze, Harrison, and Neighbors in the room. I don't know if that was a wide receiver coach or the
It
offensive
was,
coordinator. I
yeah.
think it was a wide receiver coach, right?
Mhm.
They all left the room and they were like, which one? And he's like, Neighbors. So that
Mhm.
was kind of cool and interesting. I'm sure exciting for you, right? That a coach had
Mhm.
him higher and wanted him more than Harrison anyway. And
Yeah.
I also thought it was cool to see Joe Shane lay out his scenarios on what will happen. He's like, we think it's this, and then we think they're gonna take him at 4. At 5, it could be this or that. So if it's him, then I have this set up for 6. If it's that, we pick. Like that was really cool because I feel like we do a lot of that here, and I think Codes is the one who said it feels like they're playing fantasy football with like in real life. And so I thought that was kind of unique that it's almost similar to what we do to an extent. Um, and that they were just like, yeah, this is what we're doing. Let's roll. Let's just kind of get in there and see what happens. It was nice. I didn't know. I didn't remember. Was it Burns? Is it Brian? Whatever his name is.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
didn't know
Brian
that.
Burns.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, Brian Burns. So I didn't know that you guys traded for him. I don't.
Mhm.
I know who that is, but I didn't. I couldn't remember if you guys had traded for him or not. So it was cool because it kept coming up. So I figured it was going to happen, but I was sitting there like, I don't know if it happens. Kind of cool seeing the negotiations go back and forth and should we this or should we that. Like I thought that was a lot of fun. I couldn't remember who you guys signed in free agency. So it was
Yeah.
cool seeing that happen as well. Whereas I'm sure as a fan, it's sad because you know the spoiler, but cool because you get to see the other side of it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole sort of like build up to the trade for Burns, I thought was really interesting. Like how it started out so like casually, like they're
Yeah,
just standing near
they're
each
just
other on the
boys. Yeah,
sidelines, just chatting. It's like, hey, want to do this?
yeah,
No, but yes. Like,
yeah. And then you got to like
uh,
not tip the hand completely, and even Joe Shang, like lesson learned for me. Joe Shang, like when they were talking back and forth, he's like, "Why do we got to throw in a 7th?" Like, come on, man, we're gonna be doing this. Why you got to do that? Whereas me, I'm like, sure, take my fucking 4th, please. Like whatever it takes. I just want my home. So like, it was just kind of cool to kind of see him be like really get frustrated, but also like a negotiation tactic. Like, come on, man. Like, why are you doing me like that? Like, we don't need. It doesn't need to be that way. Um, I thought that was really cool. I also saw. I mean, bias with the Eagles, right? But there was someone put like the behind the. Like, I guess the Commanders published the behind the scenes of their trade with the Eagles in the second. The Commanders published it, and the Eagles published it. So somebody lined them up back to back, and so you can kind of see the conversation happening. And the Commanders, like Howie hangs up the phone with the Eagles and is like excited about it. And the Commanders hang up the phone, and the guy looks at his owner and is like, "That guy's fucking ridiculous." And it was just, it's cool to see. I wish we could see more of that stuff. Like I loved watching it. I haven't seen training camp at the Bears at all, but I love to
I
see
don't,
the behind the scenes stuff.
yeah, I don't normally watch Hard Knocks.
Yeah, that's the first one I watched.
Yeah. Well, I specifically, well, besides the fact that it was the Giants, I also was
Yeah,
most interested in the fact that it was like the off-season stuff, like the build up to the draft and
yeah,
all that.
yeah.
The one thing I wish that they would have included, which probably would have made for somewhat boring TV, I guess, but I would have liked to have seen the UDFA process after the draft.
Oh, that would have been cool as shit. I didn't even think of that. Just seeing the
Yeah.
panic and phone calls and everybody in a room just calling people. That's like that appeals to the nerds like us, you know. The best franchise mode of any game I've ever played in my life was called NFL Head Coach, and Codes actually played it as well in Bonded. I don't know if you ever played it. There was like a bonus game that came with Madden 07 or 08. And you couldn't play the game. You would play the game and it would simulate the plays and you would call the plays and you could watch it unfold. But it was like bidding for free agents and restricted free agents and setting game plans. And like, you know, if you said you want to underside speed rushers as your defensive end, your defensive coordinator had to be good with it. And then the ratings would change for everybody based on your scheme and shit. And it was cool. And I would still play it to this day 15 years later because it's still better than what Madden says is franchise mode. But I love that type of stuff. So yeah, long story short, I agree. Seeing undrafted free agents could have been fun. I feel like I loved how the episode ended as it was getting the draft, and then I was like, oh, there's going to be a lot here, and it was really just neighbors. It was fine, but I would have loved to have seen more of that stuff. But yeah, I was disappointed when it ended, and they did the zoom out shot. And I was like, it's just 5 episodes, but it was really fun to watch. So, all right,
yeah, I hope they keep making that, like,
yeah,
you know, every year doing a different team or something.
They should. I just wonder if they will, just because I feel like Joe Shang's, I don't know if he's gotten a bad rep in the Giants community for some of the stuff, but like it was fine to me. But people like Pat McAfee and all them were like blasting him, like, I can't believe this guy this. I'm like, it seemed fine to me. Like, he seems genuine to me. Like, I don't know. Like, they're like, oh, his shit was Saquon. It's like, he's running a business, and maybe he's making the wrong decision. Who the fuck knows? But he's sticking to his decision. Like, I would rather have someone confidently make the wrong decision than flip flop on whatever. So I don't know. It's a whole philosophy thing.
Pat McAfee's a clown anyway.
Yeah, I like his clips occasionally, but sometimes he's a little holier than thou. I think that gets frustrating. So anyway, we went off on a tangent. I said 10 minutes, and here we are, 22 almost. So we'll wrap this bad boy up. Final thoughts for real this time, Rick? Anything you got other than excitement for the season?
I'll invoice you for the extra time.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. My people call your people right after this is done. All right, Rick, thank you, sir. Hope you have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Take it easy.